create a recovery drive. So I'll just go to the Windows, type in for the search, recovery. And I'm going to, what is it? Create a recovery drive. Is it going to be that one? I think that's it. There it is. So this will give me the option to boot up. Even if your PC can't start, you can use the recovery drive to reset it or troubleshoot problems. If your backup system files to this drive, you'll also be able to use it to reinstall Windows, and that's what I want. I'm putting a 64 gig drive as my recovery drive, my USB drive for this laptop. Now you can use a smaller one. I believe you can do it up to 16 gigs, but I'd rather do it larger so I can store other files like software and drivers for this actual laptop on this drive to have everything backed up in one place. I inserted my USB disk. So it found it, USB disk available. Sorry, 16, it's 32 gigs. Click next. It will be erased. Nothing could be recoverable after you do this. And do create. The recovery drive is done. Let me click finish. I just want to see the actual drive itself to see what file format it is. There it is right there. There's 31 gigs left. FAT32. And I could add additional files to it because they didn't take up the whole amount of space. And this is everything. Which one has the most items? 33 megabytes. Sources. 23 gigs. So it's all in here. I guess everything you need. Great. All right, let's go. I upgraded the RAM to 64 gigs. Now I'm upgrading the hard drive to 8 terabytes. Unplug the computer. And unplug the mouse. I already took the screws off. It's 8 screws here. Need to be removed. They're all off right now. Because I was upgrading the memory. I decided not to screw them back in since I needed to upgrade the hard drive. In the memory video upgrade, I showed this. I made my own little template and taped the screws as to where they go on the actual back of the computer. So this is the front, that's the back. The 3 screws here, the 2 screws here, the 3 screws here. I don't have one of those fancy white magnetic things. I probably should get one, but I don't have one, so I just made my own, just to make sure that I put the screws in the right places, as the fronts are different than the backs. So be wary of that, that these are longer, the ones here, than the ones in the front, and a lot shorter. You can see how much smaller that screw is compared to that one. I'm installing 2 of these. These are 2 4 terabyte Western Digital Black SN850X generation 4 7300 megabytes read and write. Actually says read, I believe it's read and write. NVMe. I believe this is the largest drive that Western Digital makes at this time. Let's open it up. I'm going to remove the bottom. Be gentle in removing the bottom. It clips off. Just catch it at a corner and gently snap it off little by little. I'm a regular user. I'm not an expert. This is where I'm going to install the new M.2, but first we have to remove, or disconnect, I should say, the battery. The battery disconnect has a little slot right here. Let me show you with around this edge here. And I've been using my fingers to disconnect it. This hasn't been working well. I'm sure there are other tools, but I just don't have the tool with me or available. So I'm just going to use my fingernail, and there's a slot, a little slot here. It's right there, the little black slot part of the plastic. I'll do a close-up when I get it done. And you just work on it from left to middle to right to middle to left with your fingernail. Easy, because if you're not careful and you break it, you have to get a new one. You don't want to replace something that it's already new. And look, I disconnected it. See? So there's an edge. You got to disconnect the battery when you're working in here. You don't want to short out the laptop. So there's an edge right here. You can't see it because of the lighting, but right here, there's an edge. And you just work on it with your finger to disconnect it. Easy. You got to do right, left, right, middle, left, left, middle, right. Little by little. You just work it little by little. I'm doing Raid0 to get a total of 8 terabytes. When I do that, I'm going to have to actually install the drivers because the computer won't recognize it. And I'll have to do some configurations. I believe I have to go into the BIOS and set it to Raid0. And I will. Once I set it to Raid0, I should be able to install it as an 8 terabyte brand new drive. I don't have, it didn't come, I don't think that the hard drive came with the screw. This is the actual hard drive, and there is no, didn't come with any screws at all. We'll be placing this here on the side, and there are, no, it didn't come with any screws inside the box at all. So I'm gonna have to find another screw. I have a bunch of them to screw it in, I believe right over here. And I gotta remove this one. To remove the actual drive that came, you're gonna need a heat sink. So I actually purchased one. Everything I'm doing here, the software and the items I purchased, links will be below. This is the actual screw. Put it to the side for safeguarding. And remove remove it. Pretty easy, just slides right out. You lift it up a little bit and it slides right out. And this is the heat sink on top. On the original, I will be keeping the original just in case I have to return this. I have a warranty, so if anything happens to the laptop within 2 years, I can actually return the laptop, and I don't want to return it with the two 4 terabytes. I will return it with what it came with, which is a 1 terabyte. Install the first one. Oh, I have to get the heatsink. Give me one moment. These are the heat sinks I got for the M.2 drive. Link is below. You can buy your own kind. It's up to you. It comes in a pack of 2. Read the instructions to see how to put this on. Should be simple. So I'm just gonna put the heat sink on one of the drives. The other one, I'm gonna put the original heat sink, since it seems to be working well, easy to take off and put on the actual M.2 drive. This is the original one from the original drive. Safeguard the original, like I said, just in case you have to return it. So let me make sure that the original heatsink fits on the new M.2. It should, since everything should be exactly the same size. Okay, there it goes. Yeah. Perfectly. Just screw it until it stops turning. Nothing more. Don't force it at all. Okay, stop turning. Now let's put the heatsink on the second one. I'm not an expert, so do this at your own risk. Step number 1, use wet wipes, bag number 1, to remove dirt on the front side of the M.2 SSD, the side with chips. Use dry wipes, bag number 2, to make it dry. So I am not going to do that because it has the writing on here. I'm not going to use, let me see how wet it is. It's a little wet. I don't really want to wet an electronic. I'm going to try to do just the middle, just to kind of clean the middle, and that's it. Not too much. And then I'm going to dry it right away. I really don't want to get the wet anywhere else. Dry it off. Okay, number 2 is remove the protective film on both sides of the heat conducting silica gel pad. So I'm assuming there's 4 of them. I don't know why it came with 4, so I'm just going to use 1. So you remove the protective covering on both of these, and I'm assuming it's gonna lay on top of that, but Let's go to step number 3. 3, put the silica gel pad on the front side of the M.2 SSD to make it at the middle part of the M.2 SSD. Later, put the back side of the heatsink on the silica gel pad, then press in with your fingers gently. So I'm going to, yep, okay, this should be the middle because it's just enough space to put the screw on and just where the chips are. Perfect. So now let me open up the heatsink and put that on the drive, and I think both sides are the same. There should be no difference between the two. Putting it right, try to put it visually right at the edge. Okay. That looks good, if you ask me. Right at the edge. I did both sides. I hope these don't melt. Let's hope for the best. That's what it says on the instructions, so I'm just doing what it says. Then we do the final installation. All done, screwed in, both screws. And now we close up. Oh, well, first we have to put the power back on, so. Perfect. Little by little, you'll get it in. Take your time. Once you boot up, this comes up because the battery was turned off. So let me go to the BIOS setting.